you know. And one of the things that I've been thinking about since the last conversation we had, part one of this conversation, was that the country is predominantly in its most highest level of law and highest level of justice is predominantly white, right? So we have the attorneys and the lawyers and the justices are predominantly white. In our country where the injustice leans against black people, how can our black brothers and sisters come out of such a system when those that make the laws, those that write the laws, those that enforce the laws, those that speak of the laws are predominantly white, and the layout of justice appears to be one that is swayed against our black brothers and sisters? What is a position of the white Americans who care? What would you say is the necessary step to begin to say, hey, you know what? This is no longer, not that it's no longer, but this is injustice. And it's laying a heavy weight against our black brothers and sisters. But for first and foremost, like what Brother Tyree said, this is against people of God, created by God, under the image of God, who may have a different pigmentation than the rest of us. But this is not black injustice. This is human injustice, and we need to stand up for it. Rather than saying this is black injustice, this is human injustice against our black brothers and sisters. What can we, those of us that are not black, what can we do to begin the process of speaking to this injustice? Anybody?
Who you want to discuss that, Pastor Jones? I want to say this, Pastor, Pastor Chris, Minister Chris said something that was powerful, and my mind went. I'm a strong black man. I'm a strong Christian. I'm a black man. I'm a straight black man. I'm a Christian. I got to take all these identities because that's the way we label each other. But let me say this emphatically. I don't think, because black people in America are strong people. Affirmative action wasn't us looking for a handout. It was us looking for you to even the playing field. Even what's happening in the NFL, I think some people look at it as you're mandating me to hire somebody I may not want to hire simply because he's black. And I don't think that's what black people are asking for. We're asking for you not to let our blackness disqualify us when we're credible.
Yeah.
I think what we have in our country for years, remember, black people was looked at as cattle, as chattel when the Constitution was written. That's why we had to have Emancipation Proclamation and amendments and things of that nature. Law, liberty is blind, but I don't know when it come to black people, she blind, she crippled, she crazy, everything. And it's just taking time to get there. The problem is while we're getting there, we're also still dying in the streets at the hands of police officers. We're actually still filling up private prisons, laws that are in place saying basically we're locked up sometimes 4 times longer than our white counterparts for the same crimes. So it's not that the wheels of justice isn't turning. She's turning very, very slow. And this is why you get the angry black man who's frustrated that, you pull me out my car and you're asking me all of these things. So I think what we're looking for from white America to do is swiftly help us even the playing field.
Mm-hmm.
Swiftly help us even the playing field. Not that we need a handout. Not so that you got to walk me into my school. I want to be able to walk in school on my own. I just want to be protected under the law when I do it. And if you're going to have white judges sitting in seats, those white judges have to be empathetic to black and brown people. And I think one of the most dangerous statements I hear people say is that I'm colorblind. You can't be colorblind. They say, God don't see color. That's not true.
No.
God created color.
Amen.
It's just when God created color, he's seen it all as beautiful. He's seen it all as equally beautiful. And we the ones that don't. I need you to see my color and see that I'm beautiful, just like I can see you as a white man and know that you're still creating the image and the likeness of God and appreciate all that you bring to the table. That's what we need. We need to try and even the playing field. Now, I don't know realistically how much longer that may take. This process has taken years to move from slavery to Jim Crow to systemic racism and redlining to where we are right now. You're talking about a very, very long process. I don't know if Black people in America have another 150 years before something happens, 120 years, another 80 years, and another generation. I don't know. I'm very optimistic, though, because I'm a believer in Christ. Let me get a scenario now. I'm gonna hold my peace. I'm a preacher. I can talk long. This is the way I see it. I grew up playing a game called Monopoly. That was before everybody had video games. We played board games. And the game of Monopoly, you could get 4 to 6 pieces, 8 players come on. Normally, I got the Polo Man. That was my piece. And, put the Polo Man on. I out a racetrack, so we put the Polo Man on. You got $200. You get to roll the dice that determine who went first. And then from there, everybody, you roll your dice. You come around, you buy property, you take your chances. You come around, every time you come around, you get another $200. Eventually, you build up the board. People getting property and people paying taxes and somebody on the rail. And you can do that. You can actually play Monopoly 2, 3, 4 hours before somebody actually starts going bankrupt, have to buy out, things like that. I always say, imagine playing Monopoly, us four playing Monopoly. Us four right here, Pastor Arvo, Pastor Luke, Pastor Chris. We've been playing Monopoly for about 4 hours. Then all of a sudden, Pastor Jones walks in. And he go, hey, man, I want to play Monopoly. Hey, let me get a piece, man, put it on the board. Let me be honest with you, Pastor Jones. All 4 of us would love for you to join us in that game of Monopoly. we would hurry up and give you a piece and hurry up and give you them $200 and say, hey, man, roll the dice, man, go ahead. And once you roll that dice, all of us know one thing is for certain. One of us about to get paid. It's just a matter of time. Before you get around that board good, you're going to have lost that $200. You're going to be in debt. And the only way you get around it is if you land on chance, community chess, or you go to jail. That's real life for Black people in America who's come out on the other side of Emancipation Proclamation and Jim Crow. You put up some laws in place and you told us, okay, come on, join us in the game of Monopoly. But by the time you've loosed us, you put us on the board, we don't own anything. We're coming from behind 400 years of oppression, Jim Crow, systemic racism, and everything. And like Pastor Arvo would say, not to mention the energy and the spirits that have been passed down through Black people of struggle. So now this is where we are. This is why Ahmaud is getting upset, getting out the car. And not just Ahmaud, but almost every Black man and Black woman. Sandra Bland did the same thing. They're upset, they're angry that even after I get my education, even after I buy a home, even after I did it the right way, I'm still Black in America and I'm still behind the ball. So I don't know if we need to have a complete reset of the system or even if people are willing to be that.
Yeah.
But affirmative action and equal opportunity employment, that's just trying to get us up to be fair on the game of Monopoly that's been going on for 400 years without us ever being invited on the board. Yeah. You brought us to the board 4 hours late, 400 years late. And I don't know, man, we have to have a complete reset of a lot of these laws.
Yeah. Oh, can I follow that up with something? First, on something you said earlier, I hate when people say, I don't see color, I'm colorblind. That's nonsense. Because when we get the glimpse of heaven, the vision of heaven in the book of Revelations, it says every nation, tribe, and tongue is gathered around the throne of God. It doesn't say everybody was circling the throne of God crying out in English. God doesn't want to hear just English when that day comes. He wants to hear that multitude of voices and all the different types of people that he created. Because if we just had one people group, that's not the image of God. It's when we have all of us together in harmony that we get the full picture of the image of God. Getting back to what can we do about this, and kind of a full reset. I think it was Pastor Arvo that said a little bit ago, you know, when you have great grandparents or grandparents that had a certain thought process growing up, you know, if you are their child or their grandchild, you might have a natural bent in the way that you think because of the influence that you had growing up. And so for me, the best way for me to reset the system is by the kids that I raise. It's by the people that I influence as a minister. So for me, I can talk against racism all day long, but who do I invite into my living room? Do I actually make room for people in my life that look different from me? Because my kids are watching that. And when I see my kids, I don't just see children. I see future doctors and lawyers and future ministers. And I see future world changers, people that will be in position of power. And so I think for each person watching this, if you do have children, that's where you start as far as how you can make a change. It is one of the best ways you can make a change is by raising world changers. You can talk about this stuff all day long, but I think that the more that we're intentional about raising the next generation to not just talk about it, but to be about it, then they're going to grow up with a different mentality than what many of us grew up with. And so I think that's something that we need to kind of force ourselves into thinking of. I want to be a person that I challenge the system, but at the same time, by raising my children better than what I was raised and what I experienced growing up, I'm not just going to challenge the system I'm in right now, but I'm going to help create a better one next through who I'm raising right now.